We're just gonna give a couple minutes for people to join us. Yeah, this is Pearl Peng speaking with Pat with me. We're getting it. So please get comfortable.
Have paper and pen to take notes.
That's right.
Water.
Yep.
It is Cinco de Mayo, so just saying.
That's right.
Happy Cinco de Mayo, Pat.
Mm-hmm.
Got my margarita right here.
Hey, man, today's the day. Today's the day.
So we want to ask folks to keep their video off. So, Jimmy, if you don't mind typing in case anybody join, all right? And we are going to all right, we're gonna get ourselves out. And here we go. Pat?
Hey.
Not seeing your video yet.
Okay.
There she comes.
Let's start your video because the host has stopped it.
Hang on one second. Too bad. My bad again. I'm the
there we go. Hello.
Hello, everyone.
This is what happens when you work at home.
Oh my God. Yes.
Oh,
again.
It's just flexibility, and we are just loving it. And we're going to have fun tonight. It's good to see you, Pearl.
Happy to be here. So Pat and I started this TownSquare Talk how many weeks already? A month ago, huh?
A month ago.
Twice when we're having fun. Yes. And we wanted to have the space to share with you our experiences, also inviting experts to join us as speakers to mastermind with you in terms of what matters in your life, especially during this COVID-19 period.
Right, because everybody is in the process of creating a new normal. And we wanted to be able to lean into this space and help you create that new normal in a way that resonates with you. And so we'll be talking about health and wealth, career, business, and we are open to taking in your ideas and making this program yours. So if you find that there's something that you would love for us to present, we definitely want you to, in the chat box, give us your topics of interest.
That's right.
So that we can bring in subject matter experts to talk about things that are important to you at this point in time.
Right, and I bet some of our past colleagues would join us, or folks that we have gotten to know, owning their own business, could be watching this. So feel free to chime in what works for you and what's really kind of not so great. It's all good sharing that, and so that we can learn from everyone's experiences. So.
Right. So our topic is the do's and don'ts about working from home.
That's right. And Pat and I actually have about combined 60 years of experiences in corporate life and the 2 years of entrepreneurial and business life. So we wanted to, again, put this particular topic on, and so that we can come up with any new ideas that can work. So Pat has been a great entrepreneur and coaching businesses and entrepreneurial women, especially.
Yes. So I work with women entrepreneurs who are in the IT and the real estate industry,
Hmm.
who are looking for that level of clarity that they need in order for them to scale their companies so they can experience financial freedom, time freedom, and create a life they love. So to learn more about me, go to majesticgroupcoaching.com, and you'll learn a little bit more about me and my background and how I might be able to make a difference for you in your business. And Pearl and I know each other for many years, and she's also an entrepreneur. So, and she has her own specialty. So, Pearl, why don't you tell us about your specialty, your ideal client, and what you love to do? I think I just lost her. There you are.
My bad. I gotta get myself ready. So, yeah, thank you for taking over a bit for me. And like Pat mentioned, we've been friends for quite some time. And currently, I have been working with visionary and authentic CEOs and business owners, professionals who are in their personal awakening and are seeking to find someone to work with to achieve the higher level of outcomes, whether in new or maybe unconventional and innovative ways. So in order to find more about me, you can come to thebenchmarkmaven.com. With
So
that,
we are delighted. We are delighted to have you with us. And we want to make this as interactive as possible. There's opportunities throughout our entire conversation about working from home that is open for you to share your ideas, share any questions that you may have, and really what's been working for you. Because there are some of you out there that are working from home for the very first time. And we'd love to hear how many of you are first time work at home
right.
professionals versus those who have been, working at home for years and years, which is what Pearl and I describes Pearl and I, because we have been working from home for a long, long time. And so we want to make this yours.
Right.
We want to
So
make
if
this
you
yours.
can type in the chat, how long have you been working from home? Is it
Mm-hmm.
something that you feel quite comfortable with? Or is it something that you've been just, can do it in your sleep type of deal?
Exactly. And, since we're still working from home,
Yes,
we're open to new ideas because we're all exploring what works for us, and we all have new normals, and sometimes every day is a new day. And so you just need to, take in some new ideas to make it work for you. So,
absolutely. And whether you're a business owner or you're a C-suite leaders, or you are remote worker, or maybe, you just have to, now working from home.
mhm.
What we find really, it's really starting from scheduling, planning of the day,
Mhm.
isn't it, Pat?
Absolutely, absolutely. And if there's one thing that becomes really important as you start working from home is to set your business hours. So if you were used to driving into the office and your day was an 8 to 5, then set those similar hours and stick to those hours. Not that you don't have any flexibility, but getting into the same rhythm that you had while you were going into the brick and mortar is really important. And you'll find your rhythm when you're working from home, but you want to be consistent about having those hours. And really, it comes down not only to your sense of discipline, but
Mhm.
it's really about how your family and your spouse understand your schedule and honor that schedule so that you can get the work done.
Right, and with the technology these days, having an integrated calendar is really a great idea, isn't it? So that people
Oh
can,
yeah.
especially family sharing the same duties or routines, or even an integrated calendar with your own team.
Hmm.
So clearly it's not something that everyone can easily configure, but there's this option out there for you to consider.
Definitely.
If not,
Definitely.
to the least, you have your own calendar and be very, very cognizant in, like Pat
Hmm.
mentioned, scheduling the time so you have some leeway between meetings. as well as being able to follow up.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's,
Definitely.
yeah.
And, one of the things that, when you're in a work at home environment,
Mhm.
you start learning a new rhythm of how you operate when you work from home.
That's right.
And what I have learned is that there's multiple ways that you can set up your day.
Mhm.
So the way that I like to set up my day is I like to work 50 minutes and then get up and stretch and take a break and then get back into the swing of things. I have also learned about myself is that my most creative hours are between 9 and 11.
Mm.
So when I want to do creative work, I make sure that I don't schedule any appointments during that time because that's when I am really at my best creatively. And you may know where that is within your own body and your own mindset. And so if you have you have the option of incorporating your best times into your schedule so that those are the times you get the most important things done or you do your most creative work.
Right.
And I know there's other methods for time blocking. Pearl, what's one of your favorites?
In terms of chunking time, it depends.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, like you said, I will have deliverables or write up that I need to go do. And for some of you who don't understand what deliverables means in the IT industry, they're this product that you got to have to sort of produce. And most of the time, it can be a document that you write. So it could be specifications, it could be requirements, business requirements, or anything that's included in part of the project. So if that's the case, you will need sort of some chunk of time to think and to allow the juices to flow to write it out. And oftentimes when different stages, different sort of technique is when I was younger and my daughter was still very small. So I would just put her in bed and then I get up and then I just, that's when I really have the flow, the thoughts started to come out.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems to work well, especially when I had global colleagues that are working on the other side that will be awake at the time. So it all depends on kind of what kind of teaming you have with your workplace. So that's an idea to consider is having that chunking of the time, even though you get to work at late, but you wanted to make sure that you do have that break time, right? Getting up to stretch a bit and use the timer, right? Use your calendar to remind you. And when the timer goes off, just drop everything. And it's a habit. It's a new habit to build, right?
And there are days where I get up really early in the morning and I start my day from 7 and go all the way to 9, take a few minutes break and then get back on it. And so it depends on really what it is that I got going. And the point that we're wanting to make is be flexible with yourself. If I think about something in the evening, I can get my second win and then I go into my office and I can work for hours on end in the evening.
Right.
So it's about what is your rhythm at home and
Right.
how do you take advantage of it. So at one time I used to drive an hour and 15 minutes to work. And imagine what you could do with an hour and 15 minutes.
Audiobook.
A lot of time. That is a lot of time. So
Yes.
if you're used to driving to work and now you're working from home, and let's say it took you 30 minutes to get there, what can you do with those 30 minutes that you used to be in the car to help you do some errands and get some things done at home?
Right.
Start put in a load of clothes in the washer. So you think about your time in that way, you can really optimize that. And I'm sure there's already some of you that are already doing that, right? Because it's so convenient to start a load of wash while you're on a call. So the important is that, isn't it? Is to, really be flexible. That is really going to be the secret to your success when you're working from home is your level of flexibility.
Absolutely.
And that's what one of the perks of working at home is.
Yes. So really have that sort of paradigm shift, perhaps. If you somehow just don't like working from home, maybe it's a different way of thinking, a different way of treating working from home. It
Yes.
actually can save quite some time in commuting back and forth. So this is why we're offering some of these tips, quote unquote, that have been working well for us. And one of the great tips is really having a morning ritual.
Absolutely.
So waking up in the morning, right? Pat?
Exactly.
Don't do this.
I have a morning ritual, and for me, it begins with silence, meditation,
Mhm.
affirmations. I visualize my day and how I want it to unfold. I get up and exercise. I read and I journal, and when I do that, it really grounds my day for sure. And it gives me clarity on the things that are most important because during that time in my ritual, I identify what the three most important things that need to get done so that when I start my day, those are the things that get done.
Yes.
So having that ritual is really important because you cannot control what happens at the middle of the day, but you can control how your day starts and you can control how your day ends. And having a simple ritual, it's just three activities. It can be three or more. Mine is five activities that set the tone for your day, ground you, get you excited about the things you're going to do, and get you really grounded with your goals. So I
Right.
encourage you. By the way, you already have one. So
Well,
if your ritual is getting up and
right.
getting up and reading your email immediately, that's a ritual. That's part of your ritual. The question is it an empowering one? So,
Well, that's the whole point is really getting up and you can, for example, you have that making coffee, making tea, as well as perhaps journaling, writing down some, great idea all of a sudden pops in your head. So
yeah,
keep a journal handy and, a few other things that I can think of is maybe take a brisk walk even. So, and that doesn't have to be every single day, right? So you may have sort of different variation of ritual. And oh, the one that I love the most is my visualization, right? My affirmation or affirmation. If you want to ask me what that is, I will tell you after the show. And anyway, it's all kinds of different things that you could do, and it really sets the tone for the day, like you mentioned.
absolutely.
Yeah.
It is absolutely, it's absolutely critical.
Right.
And what I found works for me is to actually get up like I'm going to work. After I do my ritual, I take my shower,
Mhm.
and I put something nice on so that
Yes.
so that makes me feel like okay, I'm stepping into the workday,
Right.
and I'm taking my PJs off, and I'm going to put a nice shirt and actually go to work.
Right.
So
And I won't lie to you. There were days I just roll over the bed when I have the whole deliverable. I block everything out and I just, get the work done. So guess what? It's about flexibility, right? Like Pat mentioned.
absolutely,
So
flexibility.
yeah, so those are the sort of options and tools for you to
Mhm.
kind of just take a look and review and tweak and just move things around. If it's not serving you or things emergent happen during the
Oh
day,
yeah,
right? Nothing goes as planned always. But
that's
having a
true.
plan helps grounding you,
Mhm.
helps you bring you back to what you had intended to accomplish. And then you get to, um, guess what? At the end of the day, you would have to sort of review and end it. And Pat will talk about the
I'll talk about that too.
evening
Exactly.
later. But during the day, there are all these things that you can besides taking break. Remember that? And if you somehow
Break.
can't break, guess what? If you have back-to-back conference call,
Oh,
right? This is what I would be doing. I'd be on the headset and I'd be just, what am I doing, Pat?
you
Pacing,
are pacing and talking while you're taking the phone call.
right?
Now, if you don't get your steps in that way, you know, that's a great, that is a great way to get your steps in is, and you have the flexibility to do that is to really stretch
Yeah.
your legs and move around and, because,
And you can
you're
like talking like this.
stretch your back.
Exactly.
And the
So
thing is to
be
move, but
creative.
the important thing is get up and move at the top of the hour, make take a break or schedule them into your day. and ensure that you're getting up from your chair, because when you were probably working in your office, you're probably in a brick and mortar, right? You're probably getting up and walking to get some coffee or walking to the bathroom or checking in with a colleague, and you were getting up and walking on a regular basis. And when you work at home, that pretty much gets eliminated from your day, and you have to be able to replace that level of movement that your body was used to.
Yeah, and maybe one day of the week, you may want to have a little prep, nice cooked meal, little time set aside with your family.
Mhm.
So again, taking advantage of the perk of working from home,
Yeah.
thinking of that, thinking about working from home as a perk.
Right.
And when you show your productivity, right, your boss will totally understand that they need to be working with you flexible as well.
Mhm.
And we'll get to that.
Absolutely.
Clearly we need to communicate, over communicate when you're working from home, because it's not visible to anyone.
Exactly. It
So
really
there's
is.
that.
It's true. It's
Yeah.
true. And there's nothing that says you can't get in the car and go somewhere and have lunch.
That's
Or
right.
go, really, at this point, go pick up lunch, right? And bring it back and take a ride with your kids during that time. Because normally, you wouldn't have that luxury. Now you actually have the luxury of, hey, kids, come on, let's go, pick up some food and come back and have lunch. And so you want to take advantage of those opportunities to spend with the kids and family. So,
Exactly.
Pearl and I are really serious about personal development, professional development. And there's one thing that we invite you to do is to actually continue to schedule your training into your day.
Absolutely. Yes.
Absolutely. Continue growing, make time for it, schedule it in. Otherwise, it's really not going to, it won't happen. And then at the end of your day, then end your day on a very positive note.
Right.
Take a look at, and like Pearl said, review your day. So, when in your day, what did you learn?
Yes.
What would you do differently? And then what was something that you want to celebrate, so that when you go to bed, you're in that positive, celebratory, high energy kind of positive attitude, and
Right.
that you go to bed with that thought in mind.
Yeah.
So it's really important.
Yeah, Jim and I have a pact. We don't go to bed. We don't go to bed angry, right?
For sure.
Happy. So if there's any things that haven't been resolved, or somehow, it's not available to resolve for that day, but at least resolve to, love each other, that connection, even though you may still disagree on certain things, right?
Yes.
So with that, guess what? Next week we have some special
We're going to be talking about
relationships. So we'll get to that in a minute. So clearly end the day with a positive note.
Absolutely. And what Pearl and I have found is that in this new norm, or when you're working from home, now your spouse is probably working from home too. And your kids are at home doing online schooling. And so that's when ground rules really become important.
Yep. Oops.
So the important thing is that everyone in the household is in sync to everybody's schedule. Your schedule, your spouse's schedule, your children's schedule, and then you figure out what the norm, or what the rules of engagement will be, if you will, now that you're all together in the same household. So, Pearl, I know you've got some great ideas on this area.
Oh yeah, well, talk about scheduling and talk about being sort of in the same household for so long, for so much. Clearly, there are certain agreements, I like to call them, or you can call them ground rules, or with your work team, it's rules of engagement. However you want to call those, it's really about the agreement on how to work well together. What's to be expected, what are the acceptable and not unacceptable behaviors, especially when you start to have some frustration, anger, what have you, because guess what? We all understand that working from home it can be difficult, because you cannot show somebody, you can't just walk over there to show someone and you're trying to describe it. Yeah. And guess what? If your internet doesn't work and somehow the phone line isn't working well, and Then the dog's barking and something happened, emergent, kids start to fight. So, things are going to heat up. So the very first thing, as you make your daily schedules, as part of that exercise, is really good to have that agreement, have that ground rules, or have that rules of engagement. So you want to develop one along with your family and develop one along with your
Exactly.
work.
Exactly. So today, my husband and I share the same office. And what we need to do and what we do is we sync up our schedules and we say, okay, what calls do you have today that are going to be via Zoom? What
Right.
calls are you going to have that are confidential? And we sync our schedules up. So depending on who has the Zoom call or who has a confidential call, then the other person will leave and will work out of the kitchen, so that we are honoring each other's time and the space that we need in order to operate. So we, first thing in the morning, we share our schedules and we figure out who's going to be in the office for a certain period of time and who can take the call in the living room. So in Zoom, I take my Zoom, I'm on a lot of Zooms, and so is Mitch. So at the time that we both have Zoom, he actually ends up taking the Zoom call on his phone.
Mm.
Goes to the living room and he just puts his earbuds and he still stays connected.
Right, right. So it's about, once again, flexibility.
Yes.
And if and when conflict does arise, that should be addressed as part of that agreement.
Yeah.
Right. If something just doesn't go as planned or intended, we all,
And it's going to happen.
Yeah, we're human. You're gonna why'd you do that? And you could have done this better, or what have you.
Mommy.
Right. You can get mad about things, but guess what? Right, there are certain rules that each party would honor to resolve any conflicts or disagreement. So that is really crucial to be addressed as well. Not just a bunch of sort of positive and what is allowed, quote unquote. And that also ought to be a living document. In other words, it's not carved in stone. And whenever their new situation arises, for example, you may have a new business merger and acquisition coming in. So there could be slightly changed in terms of the ground rules or rules of engagement at work. As well, you may have relatives that need to move in with you.
Exactly. And that's happening, right?
Period of time.
That is happening.
Right? So there are all these things. Clearly, it'd be good to make the rules and agreements visible, as well as talk about it, discuss it as often as you can. So that is some hard lesson for me to learn already, and I'm still learning. So that's why I kind of wanted to call out, especially another example is, I thought you were going to pick up the kid. No, I thought you were going to pick up the kid. So somehow your kid got left at school and not picked up. And then you feel so awful about it. I'm such an awful mom. But it happens.
It happens.
So guess what? When you can't fix it, it's already happened. Feature it. And this we learn from this wonderful, great Victoria LeBon, is if you can fix it, just feature it. Own it up, right?
Exactly.
Own it up.
Yeah. Just like when you're on a call and your dog starts barking or your kids come in and you just say, oh, hey, this is my son, Jamie, say hello, or this is my dog, Dakota, just everybody knows, everybody heard it, everybody saw it. So just acknowledge it.
Exactly.
And my husband and I have code, so that when we have signs, so that if he walks in from being outside, he walks in and he says, so that means, are you talking? And then I'll say yes, and he'll know not to, make noise or ask me questions, and he'll close the door. So, or, so you have some signs that that you and your family have agreed to. And so those are the ones that we use. What are some that you use, Pearl?
Well, guess what? I find sometimes having some sort of cards available it really helps. So for example, when you're on the phone, the gesture works. So I use gestures a lot, but sometimes somehow gesture isn't available, or, I wanted to give him the notice ahead of time. I would just leave this on phone note out. So then, he just sees it right away. So having some notes out, is one way to show. And, but sometimes, or, just like, for example, give me 5 minutes, right? I'll be with you. Like, just show that, flash it. But sometimes when the situation is pretty dire, but you still can't get away, and you notice, you kind of pick up this energy, antsy, right? And being anxious and frustration. And you would just, I would just go, love you. Right? Or and just say, sorry.
Yeah.
So it's a way to communicate still when you are just kind of constrained. But then you got to find a way to excuse yourself well. And we're going to get to that on whatever is sort of having you confined or, kind of tie you up. You can't address whatever is needing your attention right away, or when you're being interrupted.
Exactly. So we've talked about the importance of schedule and being flexible and setting some rules of engagements or guidelines that is a family agreed to way of communicating time. And how to control really the interruptions, or making sure that they don't happen, is like the signs that we used. And then comes creating your workspace. And what I find is important about creating your workspace is that your family identifies that once you go into this workspace, you are in work mode. So whatever you can identify, whether even if it's the kitchen table, that once you sit down with your computer, that you are now in your office. So many of you, may have many of years underneath your belt from working from home. And so we look for you to, share any ideas that you have. And for those who are maybe just now beginning to have to go to work, one of the things that's important is to be able to keep your space sacred, and to equip your space with assets that come from the company. So if your company is asking you to work from home, then hopefully they have assigned you or given you a company laptop, a company printer, and maybe even an allowance for some furniture. So that is really important, and to really not mix the use of your computer. When you're in your computer, it's just company for company use only, and that your kids really honor that as well. Right. It's really, really important. So Pearl and I, we sit and we stand, and we've gotten used to our rhythm, because what's most important is for us to feel comfortable in our office. So having a decent chair with back support is really important. Ergonomic, mouse and keyboard, so that when you have to move around, you can just take all your things and, move to another room if you have to. And some of us have the luxury of having those stand-up desks. So if you have the luxury of being able to bring one of those from home, those are, once you start using when you get really spoiled.
I really do miss some of that, the one that can be adjustable and so on. And what I did was I just prop up my desk. And if I need to kind of just take a little break, and I will sit and bring the laptop on my lap and cross my legs. So you just really change your posture. It's really important, right? And it doesn't need to be having that budget. And sometimes budgeting isn't quite available, even though you are required to work from home. That doesn't mean that your company is quite ready to supply you with all these things. So you just need to make it work, right?
Exactly.
For a period of time, and then kind of negotiate and figure out what can be supplemented over time, especially if you have particular conditions. For example, you may have some bad back issue and so on. So clearly that's something to keep in mind and see if you can negotiate with your management.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And now that so many of us are working from home, we're probably doing more video conferencing than we've ever done.
Right.
Zoom has really stepped up. Zoom, you have Zoom, Skype,
What we're doing right
Google. I mean, that's what we're doing now. So really, we've in some cases we've had to learn new tools on
now. Absolutely.
collaboration tools, and so we want to cover some etiquette of video conferencing when you're on, especially if it's new to you and you're doing it from home versus when you're doing it in a conference room.
Mhm.
Is of course Pearl and I are gals that like to be on time. So, be on time for your meetings, just like you would in your office. You'll be on time to your Zoom meetings as well. And sign on early. I was in a meeting today and it was a Zoom meeting, and because there were so many people using Zoom at the time, it was like 12 to 2, which is prime time for a lot of people,
Yes.
that it took my colleague 8 minutes to get onto Zoom. So that's the last thing that you want to happen, is that you find that you can't quickly get on and you're running the meeting, or you're the first one on the agenda.
Mhm.
It's not worth it. Get in 10 minutes before, and make sure that you have the ability to get in and sign on, because nowadays with all the different collaboration tools, we're really taxing the system for a lot of vendors. Dress professionally. Even if you can be wearing shorts from the waist down or be in your PJs from the waist down. And if you're on with clients, customers, then, wear a nice solid or soft print uh, shirt, top, so that you are, because you're still representing your company.
Yeah, absolutely. When you need to be visible, clearly, that is
Yes.
something that gotta at least throw on something elegant, simple. It
Mhm.
doesn't have to be elaborated.
Right. And when you're on the meetings and you're not speaking, make sure you mute yourself. Sometimes the meeting coordinator will actually mute everyone. And if he or she doesn't, then out of courtesy, just mute yourself. And really take a look at your lighting. Being close to a window or having good lighting is really important, so that you're not actually, in the shadow
Mhm.
of a room where people cannot even
Right.
even see your eyes, right? So that's important. And chat responsibly, right? So you have
So
the ability to,
texting, right?
right?
Yeah.
So with the Zoom calls, so many of them being prevalent, you have the ability to chat with anyone at any given time.
Right.
So the important thing would be is that you're courteous, right? You're respectful in your chats,
Mhm.
and and it and in some cases, if you're the coordinator of a meeting, you actually have the responsibility to control the chat, so that when somebody is chatting, they are chatting with everybody. And as a coordinator, you can say, I'm not going to allow private chats,
That's right.
which means, you're maintaining the energy of the people that are attending the meeting, and they're communicating with each other, and everybody is reading what you say, versus allowing a one person to have a conversation with someone else while the whole meeting is taking place. So you do have that option, just in case you weren't aware of, is that you can control that.
Mm.
And so when you're in a meeting, Pearl, and you need to step away, what do you do?
Well, sometimes emergency arises. What I would do is I quickly type to a few people, perhaps one person I know is going to be there to at least make him or her aware. And I would put myself firstly on mute, and secondly, turn off my video, so that my not being there is not going to be causing any distraction or question, or just kind of sort of a reason to distract the meeting. So that is some good habit to think about building up, is making sure that when you have to multitask, unfortunately a client calls and it's just as important as the meeting, right? You don't want to start to talk about that, and then guess what? The whole conversation starts to stream out. So muting yourself is always very, very important. And also turn your video off so people don't see that you're not paying attention to the meeting. I mean, there's always the nature of the meeting. Some meetings are quite just informational. They're not necessarily requiring you to present or to speak, right? So again, it's really it's a judgment call. So you're gonna have to make that educated decision on what you can or cannot do. So those are kind of my go-to rules, if you will.
Exactly.
And really you can state those rules in the rules of engagement, so that especially when, say you have a Scrum meeting and you're such a technical person, everybody really requires you to be there for a certain period of time, but you're not going to be there. So you know it's going to impact the sort of the result of the meeting, because we want to have meeting not just for having the meeting sake, right? We wanted to have real productive meeting. So those are the kind of rules to keep in mind, and good to clearly state out and specify the roles and responsibilities. And that's where, the vague notion can come in. The gray area can start to cause confusion. I thought you were going to do that. Oh no, I thought you were going to do that, right? So guess what? Figuring out what needs to really be done differently is more important than starting to point fingers. I mean, it's good to at least share with other people why you didn't do it, yet don't get stuck on that, right?
Yeah.
So those are the points in having the rules of engagement.
Exactly. And there's some accessories that'll make your meetings a little better, a little easier. So having a webcam on your monitor will give you some flexibility versus having to use the camera on your laptop.
Yeah.
Pearl showed you the headsets. So I use these buds. Sometimes she uses this headset, and it is noise canceling. So sometimes those are really good to have, right? Especially when you're in the same office with your spouse. So
yeah, especially some noises you have no control over. For example, the landscaper, right?
Oh, yeah, cutting the grass.
Right? The whole things that you have no control over.
Exactly. Have a clean background. If you have an office setting and you can just use the the camera and whatever it's showing, fantastic. If not, get yourself a green screen. I actually have a green screen on the back of my chair, and I have a specific, of course, virtual background. If you're a Zoom user, they provide a lot of backgrounds that are pleasing to the eye. So you can do that. You take advantage of those options to give you a really professional look and feel.
Right.
And then we talked about connectivity is important, right? So what's your bandwidth? Do you need to take a look at how many people are signed up? Yeah, what's going on at your home? Is everybody signed on at the same time?
Right, right. Are your kids playing games online?
Exactly.
It really take a bandwidth.
Yeah. So it's those little things that can make a difference. Now, sometimes we have days where all we are is in meetings, back-to-back meetings. So what's important is to be able to have, water, be able to have snacks, fruit or something that will keep you going, give you the energy to, get off and get on the next call, so that you're not disrupting the flow of your meeting, and you have what you need immediately.
Yeah, at days I talked about, cooking some lunch sometimes, but guess what? Some of the times you probably don't even have time to eat lunch, even though kitchen is right there.
Yeah, isn't that the truth?
Yes, that's why keeping the healthy snacks available is actually
so key.
Really keep you going.
Mm-hmm. And so we've talked about the schedule. We've talked about your workspace and the guidelines. So, let's talk about effective team building and just the synergy around collaboration with your team and how that changes when you're not in the same room with them.
Right. So that is really how team can stay high performing, even working remotely. So the very first thing is really keeping in mind to over communicate, to making sure that people know where you are, what you're doing, and so on, especially when you have certain project deadline, and you know who's dependent on what you need to provide. So over communicate is always something to keep in mind. Don't just assume people know where you're going to be and where you're at. Also, have your or know your company's remote working policies really well. As we know that cybersecurity has becoming more and more important.
Yeah.
And all the companies usually will have their own firewall and VPN and different access, and always make sure that you are securing your computer even when you just step away from your own home, like you're making sure the screen is locked, because you just don't know, especially if you have kids around, you just don't know what can happen, right? So, of course, going to the airport and so on, that's, when you travel, but still when you're at home, you want to make sure the computer is locked and secure, and, it's password protected when you step away. I usually just, close my computer because it's automatic default to locking it. So it's so much easier, and also you prevent dust, right, from falling into the cracks. Yeah. So they are really good different benefits. So the company usually will have some sort of scam, malware, and phishing type of scamming policies and work. So be very, very careful on what you would share or click online, especially when you work from home. Sometimes you may accidentally click on something that would bring in malware installed on your company's computer. Then, of course, resort to your company's IT support system. IT support team usually is the way to go. But of course, prevention is always better than correction. So keep that in mind, yes. And as well, when you have a project that you're working within, sometimes multiple projects, you got project plan, progress you need to report, time you need to log if you're contracting, expenses to report, and so on. So those are the things that you may want to schedule time to do, just bits and bits. Don't wait till the very end, which I've done previously, of course, and this is how I learned my lesson. Yet, honestly, if you do have deliverables you're gonna do, they're probably not gonna be be done in time. So then make sure you communicate. This is part about over communicating, right? Making sure that you are making your management aware of what's going on that. And perhaps you can get some help from the management when you communicate. So that's the whole point of communicating. So there's quite some things to really address, as well as the shared drive, for example, the workspace that you have that you need to check in documents, check out. And so there are all kinds of things that you can sort of explore and figure out which works the best for your working, whether you're a manager or you are part of the team and you're technically savvy. And even if you're not, and you have some ideas, it's all worthwhile to kind of discuss and bring that up so people can would say that you wouldn't be the only person, right? Having that, there has to be a better way. Sometimes you would just, think of that and table and, find a different time. And with that also, how you really can make your meeting productive.
Absolutely.
Is the whole point. Is always coming to a meeting, especially you schedule a meeting yourself. If you call a meeting, you better have good agenda, as well as roles and responsibility, what to take away, what do you want people to know, what you want people to do. So it doesn't need to be a runaway meeting. It doesn't need to be trying to sort of boil the ocean, if you'll go through all kinds of details. So making sure prioritizing your points, the ideas, and the goals, the objectives, and also the timing. Timing is everything. It's all about timing. Sometimes you just don't have the time to look through all kinds of options. You gotta make a decision. So, there are times like that as well. So being conscious about it is very important.
And it's really important, I think, especially when it's the first time that you're working from home, is to be able to get face-to-face time with your manager
Yep.
is be able to do FaceTime or Zoom calls with your manager and still have that close connection with management, so they know what you're doing. You're getting things done. You're reporting on the things that you're completing,
Right.
and you're still nurturing that relationship. That is really important.
Yeah, it's really staying aligned with your company's culture.
Mhm.
So if the company's culture somehow expecting you to be more independent and not reporting as much, and that can be understandable
Yeah.
because everybody's so busy. On the other hand, you need to document what you've done, right?
Mhm.
Whether they got a chance to review that or not. So it needs to be available so that you have that supporting document right there. You can just put it there. This is what happened. This is what's done. And what's stopping me? So the kind of think agile, right? When you may want to consider having what we call the agile meeting in the morning, maybe at noon, depending on how the project is set up. And basically every team member just come up and speak for 1 minute. And you're not trying to resolve issues on those calls. You're trying to show up and just say, what's stopping me? What's missing? And who I need to be talking with, and just put it on the table so your project manager can be aware, and then you schedule the follow-up and figure out how to get those resolved. So those 1-2 minute meetings can really be helpful, helping the whole team staying on track and be productive.
And I tell you, if you're a people person like I am, you probably miss your teammates and having those conversations. Why not use Zoom or Skype or whatever collaboration tool, and have a happy hour?
Yes.
Or celebrate work anniversaries or birthdays, and still, take advantage of the technology to connect each other in a fun way.
Yes. That's crucial. That is.
Mm-hmm.
It's talk about building deeper trust. Talk about having high performing relationship. So it really requires being proactive, opening up, and being able to sort of be radical sometimes, candor, having that, and not beat around the bush so much. Guess what? This is what's bothering me. And I'm not saying that to make you angry. Right? So all those things just need to be stated in the rules of engagement. So we are, stopping all these backbiting, the second guessing, right? Because we're all working remotely. You can't really be in the same, even when you do work in the same office, those things are still going to come up.
Yeah, they are. So do we have any questions, any kind of comments from the group? We've been sharing a lot of information, and I'm sure something may have come up.
Questions at this point. So
okay. Well, with that, shall we step into the summary?
Yeah. All right. So let's see.
Here we go.
All right, so we covered the 3 areas that kind of help us anchor and help us make working from home so much easier.
Easier, right?
Right.
And we shared so many ideas with you. So if any of the ideas are new and you want to experiment, just take one idea that we've shared with you regarding blocking time, setting up your workspace or over communicating, and just try it out. So these are the 3 areas that we felt were really important to really set up the environment where you could be successful at home.
Right. And always keep in mind that rules, the rule of engagement, the ground rules, agreements, however works the best for you.
Yeah.
So there's some highlights that we mentioned. Pat mentioned quite some rituals.
Right? Exactly. So some of the things that I've mentioned, such as a morning ritual or an evening ritual, or having fun, like you see in this, you set up your office and you have your guitar there when you want to take a break, is that self-care becomes really important because it's easy to get trapped in your office and not move. So
Right.
taking a few minutes to feed your mind, body, and soul
Mm.
throughout your day is going to be really important. You can't
Yes.
neglect that.
You know what? I
Absolutely.
forgot to mention power nap too. That's one of my favorites.
That's one of my favorites too.
Yeah, like, get deliverables
20
out.
minutes and I'm a brand new person.
There you go.
Yeah. And so, yeah, you make those work, but don't ignore yourself. Make
Right.
sure you take care of yourself and keep your appointments, keep your physicals,
Yes.
move. You can only give when you're giving from a full cup.
That's right. That's
So,
right. And then we move on to talking about the workspace, how you make that available, and also have certain rules on communicating when you're in the workspace, what needs to be respected, and logistics, what you got to have real good video conferencing, a nice chair, and so on.
that is one of the most important investments, is to have a nice chair. You won't regret it. And this is the green screen that I have attached on my desk, behind my chair.
You go.
That it's so handy.
Works so well.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So then, of course, dressing up, dressing for video conferencing is another reminder, and spending time with your family. And if there are any interruptions, contingencies, things do happen. We wanted to make sure reminding you, ending your day with
a high note, right?
Yes.
Ending your day on a high note.
Yes.
And, what I'm hearing from this shelter in grace, if you will, is how close the families have become.
Right.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Because of it. So.
Yeah. And Pam and I have come up with sort of the checklist to help you restructure, configure, kind of tweak, if you will. I'm sure you all have certain ways and certain things. So take a good time audit in the very beginning before you dive into it. It's what has been working well for you, right? And you can keep doing those. And what hasn't been working well? And where do you really find yourself getting distracted?
Yeah.
Is it, social media, right?
Cooking show, cooking network.
Yes. So those are the things that are, just keep coming up when you review your schedule. So we have that checklist for you. If you can shoot us, come to TownSquare Talk page and just leave us a note, or send in Messenger if you want it to be more private messaging with us. Feel free to do so. We'll definitely get that out to you, the checklist. Definitely. In addition, there's also the process of building a rule of engagement with your work team. So that is also sort of an additional bonus for you to have. Once again, feel free to reach out to Pat or me, and here's how to get a hold of us.
All right. So majesticcoachinggroup.com is my website, and I'm giving you my email at Pat at Majestic Coaching Group, and my phone number. And both Pearl and I are invested in your success, and especially working from home if it's new for you. So both of us are offering complimentary work from home strategy calls, so that we can walk through how you have your office space set up, the norms or the guidelines that you may want to set up. It's like, if it's frustrating you to work at home and you don't feel like your setup is how you want it, just schedule time with one of us, and we'd be more than happy to sit down and work with you so that you come out with a strategy of the changes that you need to make.
That's right. So here's our contact info. Again, feel free to reach out.
Yes.
And we are looking.
And so, next week.
Right. The next 2 weeks, on May 12th, we have Miss Jeannie Goodwin to come and share with us her secrets of keeping their relationship, your personal relationship, your intimate relationship alive. So I would be all ears.
Juicy secrets.
So that's on the 12th. And on the 19th, we're going to have Mr. Johnny Proby.
Miss, it's Miss, actually.
Oh, it's
Joni. Yeah, it's a really sweet lady, Joni Proby.
Joni Proby.
Joni
Music
Corbin's
therapy.
music therapy and how to bring that into your day. And she has a beautiful, beautiful voice. So
Yeah,
this is really going to be very special.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
So let's do a final check just to make sure everything is hunky-dory. I think it's, just need to make sure we're missing anything, not missing.
I don't have any.
Okay, looks
anything
good
here
for
as well.
now. So
Yeah,
if
same
some of
here.
you are watching the recording, feel free to give us comments. Your
Absolutely.
feedback is really what we can
Mhm.
count on to continue to bring you more useful and helpful information. So, Pat, any other final thoughts?
With that, we wish you the best and we look forward to seeing you next Tuesday.
Okay.
And yes, namaste.
Thank you, everyone, for joining
Thank
us.
you. We
See you.
appreciate you. Bye-bye.